Hi, this is Ray for Phone Arena and you're watching our video review of the LG G2. Life hasn't been so good for LG recently, at least when it comes to the smartphone market. In the last couple of years, the company has rolled out a number of high-end flagship phones that haven't really managed to make a dent. With a competitor that is becoming increasingly unbeatable, LG needs a hero device. It needs an absolute winner in order to get at least noticed by customers who are drowned in a sea of galaxies. And this is where the LG G2 comes in. The newest flagship of the company will try to outgrow, outpace, and outsmart its rival, the Galaxy S4, by packing an even larger screen, an even faster processor, and even more software features that will try to make your life easier. It's impossible to not notice the similarities between the G2 and the GS4 with regards to physique. After all, if Samsung can be successful with an uninspired plastic design, why should LG try to shake things up there? The LG G2 is big, slightly bigger than the GS4, and without any fancy appearance characteristics to make it stand out in any positive way. The plastic construction is nothing to write home about, but the occasional creaking sounds made by the back sure are irritating. The G2's dimensions are still bearable. LG has done a terrific job thinning those bezels, while the nicely curved back panel makes the handset sit comfortably in the palm of the hand. The most peculiar thing about the LG G2's design are the rear keys. Instead of positioning the power and lock and volume buttons on the sides of the handset, LG has placed those right on its back. While we did not find the new positioning to be significantly worse than the good old one, we can't say that it benefited our experience with the phone in any way. One thing we definitely didn't like about the rear volume keys is how cheap they feel. Narrowing those bezels down has allowed LG to fit a spectacularly big screen in the still bearable dimensions of the G2. We're talking of a 5.2-inch display here, which is 0.2 inches larger than what's found on the Galaxy S4. And boy, is it a joy to be staring at this thing. With a resolution of 1080 by 1920 pixels and the standard RGB matrix, this advanced IPS LCD display is extremely clean and sharp. When it comes to color balance, we can by no means say that it's bad, but its colors are definitely towards the colder side in terms of temperature. The LG G2's display is very bright, and it's certainly very readable in bright daylight. It's probably not the best out there, but it's definitely among the best in this respect. Viewing angles are also very good, but this screen is all about the size, so if you happen to be among the users who just can't have enough screen, the G2 should definitely be considered. The LG G2 is running Android 4.2.2 out of the box, but LG has, naturally, used its own custom user interface to shake things up. LG's UI is highly customizable. In terms of looks, the G2's interface is quite TouchWiz-like. Bright and vivid colors are present in pretty much every screen, while not so subtle animations are adding a generous amount of playfulness to the whole experience. The G2's phonebook is absolutely full-featured, as it has separate tabs for the dialer, call log, contacts list, favorites, and groups. Needless to say, LG is giving users the option to categorize and organize their contacts any way they like. The messaging UI is not particularly comfortable as the text bubbles are quite big, which makes it really difficult if you want to read through a longer conversation, but that's not such a problem. Typing on the LG G2's on-screen keyboard is pretty good, as it should, considering the enormous screen. We enjoy using the portrait keyboard as it's spacious and even has a separate row of numeric keys above the letters, but the landscape one is a mixed bag. While there is more than enough width to the keys, they are a bit stubby, which doesn't make them very easy to press accurately. You didn't think that LG will sell you a G2 without all the organizer tools that you may ever need, did you? Good, because the G2 has some very versatile apps for tasks, alarms, world clocks, timers, stopwatches, voice recording, weather, and of course a calendar, which isn't particularly comfortable to use, but in typical LG fashion, it is full of options. The G2 comes with a bunch of unique software features. One of them is Knock On, allowing you to wake or put your device to sleep by double tapping on the screen. Another one is Slide Aside, which lets you save up to 3 apps that can always be recalled later. You may think that the 5.2-inch display makes browsing a breeze, but this isn't necessarily the case, especially if you stick to the LG browser. That's why we would recommend that you use the Chrome browser, as it will make reading much more comfortable for you. The LG G2 is chock full of connectivity features, and of course, it has support for 4G LTE. Not to be outdone by its competitors, LG has also fine-tuned its camera experience, something we've come to expect since the LG G2 boasts a number of shooting modes and settings to appease even some hardcore shutterbugs. Placing our attention on the hardware, LG made sure to stuff with it something beefy to hopefully fend off the competition. Along for the ride is a 13-megapixel camera, which, unlike some other camera modules, is able to maintain a flush appearance with the surrounding surface. But things get even better. The LG G2 captures simply outstanding images. Even when compared with the best cameras of this class, the photos of the G2 are perfectly competitive, if not better in some areas. For example, details are simply amazing. The pictures are incredibly clear and well exposed. One thing that could have been better in the LG G2's images is the color reproduction. As a whole, colors are actually very good, but they do tend to be a bit on the colder side. Fortunately, indoor images are also great. They are very bright and relatively noise-free, though they also happen to be somewhat soft. The G2 also features 1080p video recording at 60 frames per second, and we've gotta tell you, watching such footage is pure joy. It's way better than a traditional smartphone's 30 FPS video recording. In terms of image quality, the 1080p video is absolutely great and can easily rival and even beat the best smartphones out there. We're not in love with the built-in music player, as it doesn't show all the tabs at the top of the page at the same time. But other than that, the visual design of the music player is quite simplistic and likable. The Quad B2 earphones that arrive with the LG G2 are capable of playing some very high quality sound. The problem is that their form factor requires you to stick them deep in your ears, making them uncomfortable to use. Do we even need to say that the LG G2 is an outstanding device to watch video on? The 5.2-inch screen is simply amazing for the purpose. No matter if it's locally stored or streamed video, the G2 makes things come to life with that enormous screen, and your eyes will be forever thankful for this. The G2 doesn't amaze us with its sound quality during calls. Actually, it's about average at best. While the earpiece sounds sufficiently well, with voices being loud and clear, though not really natural, the microphone is not very good, transmitting our voice in a slightly unclear manner. Meanwhile, the loudspeaker of the G2 is more than decent. It has a strong output, although you shouldn't really expect wonders from it. It's lacking in depth, meaning that the audio coming from it will sound mostly high and without any audible low frequencies. So how is the G2's beefy 3000 mAh battery handling this enormous display? Quite well, actually. The phone can easily last you through a full working day of heavy usage or about a couple of days of moderate usage. The device might have some extra thickness to it, but we would prefer this over a thinner profile. The LG G2 is an outstanding smartphone almost every way you look at it. The screen is beautiful, albeit a bit off in terms of color temperature, while the camera is simply outstanding, definitely among the very best out there. Under the hood, the Snapdragon 800 processor is doing exactly what you would expect it to do, making sure that everything operates perfectly smoothly with no hiccups or delays. Software-wise, the G2 may not be your cup of tea if you happen to be a fan of a more stockish Android experience, but LG's custom UI is not so bad and it can easily rival Samsung's TouchOS. Unfortunately, the generic and plastic design doesn't really live up to the high standards set by the internals. Don't get us wrong, it's not so bad, it's just not good, in terms of appearance at least. At the end of the day though, it's probably the internals and the screen of the LG G2 that will attract its targeted consumers most, and in those areas, LG's device is currently second to none. Whether the G2 is sharing the first place with the Galaxy S4 or Samsung's handset has fallen slightly behind, well, while it's up to you to decide for yourself, our inner voice tells us that LG has just one-upped Samsung in its own game. Thanks for watching our video review of the LG G2. For more details about this amazing smartphone, visit us at phonearena.com.